What is going on, FA Nation? John and Pembe here with Dan Malin, bringing you another episode of 3-Point Play. Those of you not familiar with 3-Point Play, we take three topics. We each give 3 points to our side of that topic and debate which one has the better side of the argument. Dan, good to have you on here with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I love being here.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to point out, you and I are both Patriots fans. Today, as we're recording this, was the announce of the Tom Brady ESPN 9-part documentary. It's going to be that version of The Last Dance.
It's going to be better than The Last Dance. It's going to be so much better than The Last Dance.
It's going to be better than The Last Dance. In that honor, I am wearing my Patriots shirt here, but I have to admit to you that on the back says number 4, Jarrett Stidham. I would stud him, exactly. Stud him, exactly. I would turn around and show it to you, but it'd be hard to maneuver with everything going on here. So I'm already ready to move on from Tom Brady. We'll enter the Studham era, but being able to reminisce and hopefully get some dirt there from that Brady documentary would be pretty enticing. We do have to wait a year, however, with the 2021 release date. So both looking forward to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. He's gone but not forgotten. I'll obviously cheer for him for when he's with the Bucs. It's hard not to. He's a great guy. I know a lot of people watching this will not agree with us. Right. It's probably cringeworthy and nails on the chalkboard for any Jets fan or any Patriot hater watching this right now. So I don't apologize by any means, but right. I'm going to make my way down to Tampa, see a few Tom Brady games. I'm in Atlanta.
You're right there.
Yeah, and I'll come see. I'll go to the Bucs Falcons game when they're in Atlanta, but I am very excited for that documentary. It's going to be better than The Last Dance. It just sucks we have to wait a year.
Yeah, I got to wait a year. We had the mini documentary. Was Tom versus Time? Was it 2 years ago?
It was something like that.
Yeah, it gives kind of like an interesting look at like his
lifestyle,
promotional tour for the TB12, basically method. But now maybe we'll get some dirt. Since he's left New England, he went on that Howard Stern podcast or radio show and kind of gave us a little inside info. So now that he's away from the Patriots, brass, he's kind of speaking a little bit more freely. So
Tampa Tom seems a lot more fun than New England.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole point, right? That's why Gronk left,
right?
Because of Belichick and the lack of fun being part of football. But while we agree on our Patriots fandom, we are discussing 3 topics today that we're going to be debating one side or the other. And while there is a lot of other things going on in the sports world today, we've talked about them ad nauseum. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to do something a little bit differently. We're going to take some off-the-wall topics, some pop culture, some favorites of yours and I's to discuss that way. So why don't we kick it off here with our favorite 90s jersey from any sport. This is a topic that I think we can have a little bit of fun with. This is one that you came up with as an idea. So I'll give you the floor. I'll let you lead off here. Tell me which is your favorite 90s sports jersey and why.
So hockey sweaters are so hard to pull off. You either have a really classic look or you have a really bad look. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks in the 1990s had one of the best jerseys ever. And number one, it's nostalgic because if you grew up with the Mighty Ducks movies, the team in the NHL was literally formed as an inspiration basically from a kids movie. And they even reference that in like Mighty Ducks 3, which is the worst movie of the 3. But the fact that like a children's movie inspired an actual NHL franchise is just iconic. Number 2, it's almost twofold with the jersey because you can go with the jerseys from Mighty Ducks 1, which I don't know if the NHL team ever used. I think they should. Right. Or you could just go with the jerseys from 2 with the duck and the hockey mask. That one is it's just as classy. I love it. And number 3, why not bring the jerseys back? Because they are revitalizing the TV, like the franchise itself. They're bringing it back to Disney Plus as part of a TV series. Why not just bring back the jerseys, but bring back the name? Because the Anaheim Mighty Ducks dropped the Mighty from it in 2006, so they just became the Anaheim Ducks, and they've kind of been a laughingstock of the league for years now. And you're in a decent market. California's not a huge hockey fan base, but you're in Southern California. There is a market there. Disneyland is right down the road. They are bringing back this franchise. Why not just I'm all for changing the name back to the Mighty Ducks and bringing back the sweaters from Mighty Ducks 1 and 2. So for me, My favorite 1990s uniform is from the Mighty Ducks.
It's a good choice, especially going hockey sweaters. Us being from the Massachusetts, or myself being, are you from the Massachusetts area? I forget if you're just a Patriots fan that relocated or if you're from the actual New England area. Are you from the New England area?
I grew up in Connecticut. Before I moved south, I was living in Boston, though.
Okay. So if I should remember the Bruins third jerseys, the big yellow sweater with the bear.
Yeah.
To me, that was always the iconic 90s hockey jersey for me. Again, a little homerism, of course. But for me, if I'm going the 90s jersey that you still see kind of today rocking, we're going to go 90s NBA where all of the jerseys were very cartoonish. And the one that is come to mind for sure is the Toronto Raptors.
That's good.
Number one, the color scheme for me, I just liked. You had that nice dark purple. You had the sort of like reddish light purple dinosaur. You had the black lettering, the stripes. So the jersey itself, the color scheme, and sort of that cartoonish era of 90s NBA played out beautifully. Number two, that Raptor itself was one of the best, in my opinion, still today, one of the best mascot logos that I've seen on a jersey. It's a big red Raptor dribbling a basketball. I kind of wish they kind of continued to use that logo in today's jersey instead of just having, the North or Toronto they've kind of written off that logo. And it's a jersey that we see a lot of throwbacks. And the reason we see a lot of throwbacks is the names are synonymous with wearing that Raptors jersey. Vince Carter, Vinsanity, bringing that jersey, bringing Toronto Raptors basketball really to relevance. Tracy McGrady also wore that jersey. So to me, the Toronto Raptors jersey, the purple jersey with the red dinosaur, for me is my favorite 90s jersey. To me, it's just one of the most iconic ones there is.
I kind of get it. I think my one argument against the Raptors isn't so much the jersey. It's I don't understand why they're called the Raptors if Toronto is very popular for dinosaur fossils or something. But I had a feeling you would go NBA. I actually, before we even came on the podcast, I thought he's either going to go with the Utah Jazz, the Phoenix Suns, or the Toronto Raptors. Yeah. And if you look back, all those teams just had hilariously awesome yet kind of awful. I was going between actually them and the Vancouver Grizzlies. If you remember the Vancouver Grizzlies, that is just a teal, bluish color. They had the grizzly bear paw kind of scratching across the jersey logo. So to me, I was really going back and forth between those two jerseys, but just knowing, the Vince Carter jersey, you'll still see people walking around today wearing that basketball jersey. It's just one that is going to last forever, in my opinion. So for me, that is the topic that I went. FA Nation, for you out there that are watching right now, which jersey do you like better? Do you like the Anaheim Mighty Ducks jersey, from the Disney movie with the, kind of the duck with the old school hockey mask? Do you like the Toronto Raptors jersey from the 90s, the cartoon era jerseys of the 90s NBA? Do you have a different favorite jersey? Again, feel free to tweet at us, comment on the video, let us know your selection there, and we'll see who is the winner, I guess, of this debate here. Both great options, though, Dan. I think couldn't really do much better representing either sport. For baseball, I almost went with some of the Futures jerseys that they did in the 90s. If you remember, they did the it was in the future. The Seattle Mariners wore them. A couple other NBA. I think the Royals used them too.
Yeah, the Royals had it. The Pirates actually had a crazy one where the jersey was a red jersey with a big pirate face on it. That was kind of an interesting jersey. But these are only ones that were worn every so often, so I decided against it. But just some interesting jerseys during the 90s for sure. Second topic of debate, you and I, big wrestling fans growing up till this day, even though the product isn't exactly what it was when we were growing up in its prime. One of the biggest debates that we have back and forth all the time is which faction of wrestling is the best. If you're not familiar with wrestling or what a faction is, basically it's a group of wrestlers. They form a team together. They go on, they dominate. Very, very big during the 90s, 2000s were both WCW and WWE, WWF were just full of factions. That was the way to go. So here we are to debate which faction was the greatest during that time. You kicked off the last one. I'll kick off this one. And to me, this was a no-brainer. I'm going to go with the original NWO, the black and white, with Hogan, Nash, and Hall. Yes, I understand that eventually half of the WCW joined the NWO, but I'm going to go with the original group, and I'm going to go with the original WCW era, not when they came back way out of their prime after WWF bought out the WCW, but that original group for me was number one, and here's number one reasons why. First, it had the biggest heel turn of all ever wrestling. Hulk Hogan going from the biggest babyface to the biggest heel, basically revolutionized wrestling moving forward from the mid-90s into the 2000s. He was wearing the red and yellow. He's preaching, eat your vitamins, say your prayers all through the 80s, early 90s.
He went
Hollywood. And all of a sudden, he went Hollywood Hogan on everybody. He grew out like the dark beard with the white mustache. He started wearing the bandana. So for me, having Hollywood Hogan turn heel there was just like an iconic moment to form the NWO faction. Number two, Nash and Hall coming over from the WWE, and this is before there was a lot of like smarks, they call them, where like smart fans. We're in the social media era. There's no more surprises. We kind of know what's happening. We know it's all like scripted. But back in the day, like it was, you have the famous clip of "It's Still Real to Me, Damn It." Like people saw Scott Hall in the WCW, not realizing that his contract was up as Razor Ramon in the WWF, and they're wondering what is going on. They think this could be a real invasion. They think this could be a real thing. So having the fact that two huge players from the WWE kind of factioned over, I think that began, what we call as the Monday Night Wars for those that are familiar with the history between WCW and WWE at the time. So number two, the beginning of the Monday Night Wars, which is the golden age of wrestling, at least in our opinion. It ushered in the Attitude Era, changed everything. And number three, I mean, again, it spawned, I joke that eventually everybody's joined the WCW, the NWO Black and White, but it also spawned a very cool subset of the NWO, and that was the NWO Wolfpack, which was led by Kevin Nash. You had the black and red, you had the Wolfpack logo, you had the cool intro. So without the original NWO, we wouldn't have had the NWO Wolfpack. So those are my three reasons for why I think the original NWO faction is the GOAT faction of wrestling.
I have no problems with the NWO being one of the greatest, but, and you acknowledged it. The NWO arguably started the Monday Night Wars, but you could also argue that based on how big that it got and how out of it just got so out of touch with what it was supposed to be in the beginning, because literally half the roster, and you mentioned it, like half the roster for WCW eventually joined the NWO. And so in a sense, like the NWO was also one of the reasons that the Monday Night Wars ended, because, Vince Russo and that creative team just, they thought it was like invincible and impenetrable to ratings. But even fans back then kind of realized like it's kind of dumb if like they never lose and that they just get so big that they're unbeatable.
Right.
But my all-time favorite faction, I'm going to go back to the Attitude Era. I'm going to go with D Generation X. They were kind of WWE's response to the NWO, kind of, sort of. They were edgy. They had funny gimmicks. I'll never forget Triple H mocking The Rock and pretty much everybody in D Generation X, making fun of the Nation of Domination. That's number one. Number two, they're kind of a timeless faction. They had runs in the late 90s. They came back numerous times between 2006 and 2010. I'm not even going to mention what happened at Crown Jewel in 2018 when Triple H and Shawn Michaels wrestled The Undertaker and Kane, because that match was a disaster.
Bald-headed Shawn Michaels.
Oh my God. It was just a god-awful match. And as kind of an aside, if you enjoyed The Last Dance, you might enjoy The Last Ride if you're a wrestling fan on WWE Network. It's literally a look behind a curtain behind a guy who doesn't do podcasts. He rarely does interviews. And The Undertaker let a camera crew follow him around for about 4 years. But going back to my second point still, they are a little bit timeless. Like they came back after almost 10 years and they're still, even in the late 2010s or like 2006 to 2010, when WWE got past its Attitude Era, they were still a little bit edgy and still, comical. And Triple H and Shawn Michaels at that time were still wrestling at the top of their game, And number 3, they never lost sight of themselves like the NWO kind of did. WWE never allowed this group to get too big. It was always, in some way, it was always Shawn Michaels and Triple H. And there were, at times in the late 90s, there was Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, X-Pac, and Chyna. Chyna has now passed on. But, even when they brought them back a few years ago, Road Dogg and Billy Gunn were tag team champions once again. They always get a pop when they come back. Everyone loves to see some kind of iteration of DX whenever they do a Raw anniversary show or a Raw reunion show. So for me, D-Generation X is the greatest stable and faction of all time in professional wrestling.
Yeah, again, difficult to argue. As you said, they were sort of the response to the NWO. So, and you're right. It was always centered around Triple H and HBK, and those two had incredible feuds with one another as well. Yeah. That kind of also always brought it back to the the NWO in their feuds. How it never really seemed as authentic, but the way they really made the D-Generation X feuds with one another, I thought always played out pretty well. It's hard to, again, the two most iconic factions. They had the best wrestlers pretty much at their time going up against one another. So it's a good call. I think there's a lot of other honorable mentions. We could have done Evolution. I know Triple H, again, leading that faction. Yeah. But you had Ric Flair there. You had two up-and-comers in Randy Orton and Batista, who all, became world champions in their own right, really carried the respective brands at time. And again, the Evolution faction was able to carry, as you said, sort of carry the post-Attitude Era, the ruthless aggression era, as they call it, into the next realm of wrestling. So for me, you could have certainly gone there. You mentioned the
Nation of Domination.
Right? Yeah, they feuded. The one thing with that I found with the WWE is when they had the D-Generation X, they also spawned 15 other factions. They had the Corporation, they had the Ministry.
The Ministry of Darkness was
the Ministry of Darkness. Then they had the Corporate Ministry. Yeah. They had a whole bunch of other factions, and sort of the WWE at the time just became sort of very faction oriented. You had the Oddities. Remember the Oddities and their BWO jerseys, that the shirts that they were always wearing. So it was a great time to be a wrestling fan in the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars era. A lot of factions to pick from. I don't think we really could have gone either or, and I think a lot of wrestling fans out there could certainly flip a coin as to which one was better, NWO or DX. So if you are out there, you are a wrestling fan, let us know which side of the coin are you on here. Are you a DX fan? Are you an NWO fan? Who do you think made a bigger impact in the industry? And give us your favorite faction. Maybe if someone else, maybe you're a Brood fan. I don't know. You gotta go ahead and throw that out there. So it'll be something to go ahead.
Could be a Shield fan. You could be a Wyatt family.
Yeah, the Wyatt family is, I am a huge Bray Wyatt fan. It just, I love the whole Fiend aspect that we're getting from him now. He still is maybe one of the worst booked wrestlers of the current, for absolutely no reason whatsoever. They continue to book him to lose matches where his character is just about to peak, and then they have him lose.
And even dating back to when he had the Wyatt family and the Shield was in its prime, they had two really good stables at the time. And they only really had one match that they really built up to. And it was you could have told a really good story with these two teams, and you just dropped the ball, and you only allowed it to go for a 4-week feud leading up to one pay-per-view match. And it was just the biggest missed opportunity, especially since Dean Ambrose isn't with the company anymore.
Right, Dean Ambrose in there. They broke it up basically so they could push Roman Reigns. I know they largely were pushing Seth Rollins, but they needed a reason to break up the group so they could eventually push Roman, which nobody wanted. And still nobody wants. So, but for me, when they were building up the new face of fear with Bray Wyatt, when he just entered in and he got that feud with The Undertaker, I was like, this is it. This is where Undertaker should lose at WrestleMania. This should be Bray Wyatt taking over as that new, mystically powerful being and person and faction. He had everything working for him. He had the Fireflies. He had an amazing entrance, and then he lost. And you're like, what are you doing? Then he lost to Cena, and he got buried again, and all these things. So all a bunch of garbage, but we could talk about wrestling forever. I think you and I, and maybe probably fence him and throw him in there. We'll just discuss wrestling forever. We have one final topic here, though. You and I constantly go back and forth on Twitter with different food debates. one that we have here, and to me, this one should be a pretty interesting, interesting from a sense that like it seems like a no-brainer to me, but you have a lot of weird quirks with how you go your food. So we're gonna go with how we like to eat our eggs in the morning. I started out the last topic. I'm gonna let you go ahead and kind of just like shock me, I guess, probably. Well, I don't know what to expect here with how you eat your eggs.
So I'm gonna base my answer off of what I can make.
Okay.
Now I can do, eggs over easy. I can do sunny side up. I can scramble eggs. Now, if I could have any kind of egg for the rest of my life, it would be eggs Benedict. But I can't poach an egg. I'm pretty sure I could learn. I just don't know how to do it at the moment. Mm-hmm. But if I could have one type of egg, it would be eggs Benedict. But I'll give you my answer. It's going to be a hard-boiled egg, just straight-up hard-boiled egg. Now, number one, it's easy. And even nowadays, like they have hard-boiled egg machines to make it even more pathetically easy. And my answer is just going to just blow people's minds. Like hard-boiled egg, it's not that fancy. It's not that great. But at the same time, it's like when I'm working full-time, I kind of need on-the-go snacks. And there's nothing easier when I'm driving to work than just having a hard-boiled egg on my drive to work. I'm still getting, and so number one is easy. Number two, it's convenient, as I've kind of alluded to. There are a lot of times when, I just wake up and I just have to run to work. I have to go to set. It's nice if I can just open up Tupperware, pull out a hard-boiled egg, snack on it. I only eat the white part. I don't eat the yolk. The yolk is disgusting. Number three, it's healthy. It's a good source of protein. It's very low in fat, especially if you're only eating the white part. And if you are eating the white part, it helps lower cholesterol. I think that's true. I heard it on a movie. And you know what else you need for hard-boiled eggs? You need deviled eggs. Like hard-boiled eggs just accommodate so many different things. And you'll see them on Cobb salads. And it's just like, for me, if for what I can make, my preferred choice of egg is just going to be a hard-boiled egg. And I know that's going to piss people off, and I don't care.
So I am certainly a hard-boiled egg fan for a lot of the reasons that you said. It's super easy. You cook them the night before. You put them in the fridge. You wake up in the morning. You peel it up off. Yeah, I'm not a psycho either. I'm not eating the yellow yolk inside of it. I'm just going to peel apart the yellow and go ahead and eat that. All the things. I add a little paprika, salt, pepper, put it in my mouth. Thing's amazing. What worries me is with the hard-boiled egg is when I go to like the convenience store or like a gas station and like the little food counter thing, you have like the single hard-boiled egg pack, and I'm like, who's buying that?
That's disgusting.
I do wonder a little bit about the hard-boiled egg crowd, if there's a market of people that will walk into the Quickie Mart and like grab the prepackaged hard-boiled egg and mile on that. So, I do definitely like the versatility that you can have at home. I'm skeptical when I see those things out in the open at stores just to be bought pre-packaged and sealed. Not something that you often see with my selection, which is, of course, the scrambled egg. Number one, it's easy. You literally just put it in a bowl, mix the egg, put it in a pan, swirl it around a little bit. You don't have to worry about breaking the yolk if you're doing a hard-boiled egg, or overcooking it if you're doing like a sunny side up egg or whatever. Scrambled eggs, almost impossible to mess up. Number two is you can easily add whatever you want to it. Now, I love omelets, but I'm not always the best when it comes to flipping the omelet, cooking it the right way. Sometimes it's undercooked, it's soupy. With the scrambled egg, you literally just add whatever you want and start mixing it up. Super easy, super versatile to go ahead. If you want ham, bacon, any sort of protein, cheeses, you just throw it in there, mix it up. Doesn't have to look pretty. There's no real presentation necessary with the scrambled egg. And number three for me is I think it's pretty easy. And again, personal opinion here, but I like making scrambled egg sandwiches. Now I understand you can fry an egg to make a sandwich, but you get a good piece of toast. You can get your scrambled egg on there. You can put it on the toast, and you just eat it that way. A little scrambled egg sandwich is the way I go with my breakfast sandwiches. Again, yes, I understand you can crack an egg and make a fried egg sandwich, yada, yada, yada. But for me, I do the scrambled egg sandwich. I think they're amazing, and it's easy to cook. So for me, scrambled egg is my number one and only way to go about the breakfast item there.
I can't really argue with that. Like, I actually prefer scrambled eggs over an omelet. The only thing I don't like about an omelet is that most of the time you need the oil. You need to add oil to make an omelet just to hold everything together. Right. But have you ever seen Gordon Ramsay's perfect scrambled egg? It's basically what you described.
I only cook my scrambled eggs in a pot because of Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. Like his recipe is perfect. Yeah. It looks delicious. I've only done it once. It's fantastic, and it's basically what you described. It's almost like a scrambled egg sandwich because he prefers to serve it on a piece of toast.
Yeah. So I watch a lot of cooking YouTube videos. I am the recently dubbed fantasy chef here for a reason, apparently, thanks to Howard Bender with my Monday meals. Yes, I watch a lot of the Gordon Ramsay cooking videos. There's a series on YouTube called Epicurious. There's a whole bunch of cooking things that you can kind of watch and pick up there as well, straight from like amateur to professional chefs. But I saw Gordon Ramsay cook his scrambled eggs in like a small saucepan one time instead of a frying pan. And literally, since I started doing that, there actually is like a texture change to them. There's a more flavor to it. The egg itself is just fluffier and cooks better. So for those of you out there who's watching, instead of taking out the frying pan next time, take out a small saucepan, crack your eggs inside, mix the egg inside the pan first, then turn on the heat, add the butter, mix it up in there. It's quite a beautiful thing. So if you're a fan of eggs out there, let us know how you like them. Are you a hard-boiled egg fan? Are you more scrambled eggs? Tell us how you like them. Who do you think has?
I feel like people are going to hate our answers. Like
people.
That's fine. Answers
like the thing is, I don't think we went too off the wall. I was very worried that you were going to like. All right, so here's the deal. I like half poach my egg, and then I throw like mayonnaise on top of it, and like do some weird. I was expecting that out of you. Because you do have some like very peculiar
I know.
food. So for just to get the straight hard-boiled egg, I feel like that's fine. That's white bread to me. I was expecting to get a little crazier. I was expecting you to tell me that like you hard-boil an egg, throw away the whites, and just like mow on the yolk, right? Like to me, like something crazy like that was what I was
based
expecting.
on my resume. I wouldn't. I understand the expectations, but God, no, like the yolk is so dry.
It's chalky, Yeah. Oh, it's terrible. I agree with you. When I do a fried egg at a restaurant, I usually ask for an egg white because the texture of the hard yolk for me is just no dice. So definitely not in there either. But like I said, comment on the video. Let us know what kind of eggs you guys like. Dan, this has been fun. Any final thoughts? Anything else you want to throw out there to the FA family audience?
Play some NASCAR DFS this weekend. I'm not sure when this is going to get published, but Sunday, May 24th, I believe, there is a great NASCAR contest on DraftKings. 5-entry max, $4 per entry. It's risk-free. You get your money back even if you come in dead last. Matt Selz and I have a lot of NASCAR content coming out. We're going to start doing playbooks for the Xfinity races. They will be done by me. But play a little bit of NASCAR DFS because what else do you have to do right now?
It's true. And regardless of when this live stream is posted, play it anyways. There's going to be a whole slew of NASCAR races coming up now that we have sports slowly starting to come back. So be on the lookout for all of the content. Like you said, we have there was the track breakdowns, we have rankings, we have the podcast, the playbook, the lineups, and we're always on site. You're like the king of chat at the moment. You're in all the chat rooms. Seems like all the time answering questions. So don't be shy. Hit us up on Twitter if you have any questions. Hit us up in the chat room. We'll be there for you. But for now, for John Pemba, Dan Malin,